What's up, everybody? We just got some news about the Deadpool movie. We're first got the release date, but now we've got something about the rating. According to Schmoes Know, the website, we got info, apparently right from the director, Tim Miller, that this movie will not be R, but PG-13.
Yeah, and it hasn't been confirmed by the studio, so we don't have to freak out about it yet.
I am freaking out about it. I'm a little like, what?
I'll tell you what. It makes business sense, and I don't know that this movie would get made if it was an R. That's not to say there won't be an unrated cut or anything down the line. But let's talk a little bit about why you have sort of trepidation about the PG-13 rating.
When you think Deadpool, you think like wild, uninhibited violence and murder and cursing and like nudity if you want it to, and really obscene humor, which is what we love about Deadpool. But PG-13, you have to tone all that down. Can't do a lot of blood. Certainly can't do a lot of cursing, a lot of F-bombs, you know. So I mean, it's one argument that in the comics he's not really doing any of that, but a lot of it is like implied, and they sort of get away with like disemboweling him for a joke.
Yeah,
you know?
I think you can achieve that in movies with a PG-13 rating. You know, plenty of things have done it before, and I think with some quick editing, as long as you're not showing blood spraying everywhere and there's pools of blood and dismembered corpses, if you're doing quick cuts away from stuff, you can get away with it. Now, if Deadpool fans want that or not is the question, and I think that's where a lot of people are like, we want this uninhibited, really unfiltered version of this hero. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I do want that, because if we're gonna get a Deadpool movie, why not like go full Deadpool? You know what I mean? Don't give us a watered down version of The Mark with the Mouth. You know what I mean? It would be like a Sin City movie without the violence.
But my thought is, there's probably one of two options here. There's a PG-13 Deadpool movie, or there's no movie at all. So what do you prefer there?
Well, I don't know when you put it like that. How about a PG-13 theatrical version and then an awesome Blu-ray with, you know, full violence?
There's a lot of ways that you could do that, and you know, I think that's maybe something they would be looking at. Like maybe let's shoot all the violence, you know, extra violent, and then we'll put that on the Blu-ray. Maybe
Isn't that what they do for the Wolverine movie, actually?
Yeah, they've done that with lots of things. I mean, there's a lot of movies that have those unrated elements, and they bring them out. Because when you hit the theaters, you're going to want it to appeal to the greatest possible audience, the widest possible audience. And it's like, I know everybody takes real ownership of the characters that they love, and I do too. But this is one where I feel like they have to sort of hedge their bets and say, we need to make this hit as many people in the theater as we possibly can. And let's face it, I think Deadpool skews a little young. And I think that, you know, like you're going to want to get some of the younger people into the movie theater. And, you know, sure, people will sneak into an R-rated movie, but you can't guarantee that. You can guarantee that kids are going to get into a PG-13
Yeah, you
movie.
really need the box office push to make it a hit.
For sure.
Yeah. Curse you, business.
But let's think about this. So they could essentially take everything that he's saying, they could bleep it out. They could actually do that. We haven't really seen that in a movie where they're bleeping it, but they do it in the comic, right? They X out what he's saying.
Yeah.
So they could actually do that and then release an unrated version with the cursing and with extra violence and nudity, like you said.
Yeah.
If they wanted to do that, they could do that, because you can release unrated cuts. You can release. You can actually even release a cut that the MPAA goes back and puts a rating on, like, oh, this is the R-rated cut. So there's possibilities there, but you're saying you want the movie, well, I mean, I think everybody wants the movie as unfiltered as it can be.
Yeah, I want the, like, crazy style of, like, a Scott Pilgrim movie of just uninhibited, like, jokes after joke after joke with, like, the violence and style of, like, Smokin' Aces or something like that.
You touched on it before, and I think it's worth noting that in the actual comics, the violence is the thing that probably pushes the boundaries the most. It's like the language, I feel, doesn't actually cross into, you know, above PG-13 areas, except for maybe a couple times. But the violence is the thing that I think is really, really hard to represent. But luckily, we live in a society where violence is not as big of a deal as swearing or nudity. So, I mean, if you look at TV as an example, you see a lot of violence even on TV before 10 o'clock. And, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I think you could get away with in this movie. And he clearly, I mean, they clearly have a plan that they're saying they're going to do this.
And what Tim Miller also said was that they managed to get a PG-13 Deadpool movie, but that still captured the soul of the character, whatever that means, the soul of the character. So we're assuming that they are going to try and make it the Deadpool we want, but still get by the ratings.
What's interesting is I thought Dark Knight was actually probably an R-rated movie. There was a lot of violence. There was a lot of like sinister stuff going on in that movie. And I think if we get that same level of violence in a Deadpool movie, well, it might not appeal to all fans. I think there's going to always be a contingent of fans who's like, blood spray, and let's make this as gory as possible. But like that movie got away with a lot as a PG-13 movie.
It did, yeah.
And I think,
but a lot of cuts away, like when Joker killed the guy after his "Why So Serious" speech, they cut away and just showed a reaction. They actually show it.
And
but I want the Kill Bill level blood sprays. It's got to be ridiculous. I feel like you're not going to get the full Deadpool experience without it.
I agree. But I think I am on the side of I would rather have a PG-13 movie than no movie at all.
I don't know. Well, that test footage that we saw, would you call that PG-13 or R?
Up until the last minute when they showed the like test footage, and you know that test footage is not like necessarily, hey, this is what we're going on, but it did show proof of concept for Deadpool. They only dropped one F-bomb at the end, you know. There was a little bit of cursing, and there was a lot of violence, but the violence actually wasn't too bad. He holds up the decapitated head. There's nothing dripping out of it.
Okay.
You know, it's those kinds of things.
That's where you draw the line.
It's those kinds of things that the MPAA actually look at. You know, you read the MPAA descriptions, and they'll say things as detailed as, you know, blood drips from this for so many seconds. And when you go back to recut a movie down from like an NC-17 or an R to get to a PG-13, those are the kinds of things that they're saying. Oh, this blood can't drip, and oh, you know, you have to tweak this so there's less, you know, seconds of cutting in this movie. It's really, really intricate.
They don't show the actual beheading. You're right. They just show the bloodless head.
So I mean, if you haven't seen the test footage, it's you know, there's a bloodless beheading.
Yeah.
And you see that kind of stuff in movies that get PG-13s all the time. Like The Hobbit's a good example. There's some beheadings in that, and it's just as long as you aren't showing like copious amounts of blood, then you're fine. One more thing I will say. I think the Deadpool character on his own in the comics is a little more tame than the Deadpool character that's been sort of co-opted by the masses. Like the guy who shows up in the memes, the guy who shows up in comment sections is like the spirit of the Deadpool character, but amplified by that experience.
Right.
So I feel like
I see what you're saying,
that's what a lot of people are reacting to, I think, as well. Like there's Deadpool and then there's Deadpool plussed up by, you know, the community. And I think that's the kind of thing that they're looking for because that's what the character is to them. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of people who've never read a Deadpool comic but know him as he exists in like internet memes and like funny like video game clips and like all this stuff. So you're right that, you know, people might not even know what the essence of Deadpool is, like the source material. So really we might get a faithful comic book adaptation of Deadpool, and that would be perfectly fine, but people might react negatively to it because it's not the meme Deadpool.
Right. Well, and we'll see. I mean, I think it's far too early to say, yes, this is great or it's not great. I think when we start to see actual stuff come out from this movie, we'll be like, all right, this is heading in the right direction or not.
Yeah. So that's what we think on the Deadpool rating. Let us know what you think. PG-13, R-rated Deadpool, what do you want? And for all things Deadpool, keep it locked to IGN.